Carlie Kotyza-Witthun. Carlie Kotyza-Witthun. There you go. And she's the representative that represents 48B. She is kind enough to join us again. We had her on in 2018 when she did win that seat, and she's kind enough to join us today to talk about her race as well as her first year in in St. Paul, as well as what she wants to accomplish in the second term. Representative, thank you very much. I appreciate the time today.
Thanks for having me, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. I once again practiced your name for about an hour. and it's Carlie Kotyza-Witthun. Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
There you go.
I want to say I don't think I ever got a chance to talk to you after the election last year because you were Democrat of the Day back in 2018.
I was during the campaign.
Yeah, that was one of the big upsets. You knocking off Jennifer Loon was a huge upset that night, and I was just so tickled pink. I was so glad that you got into St. Paul, and congratulations on that. And congratulations. What are your thoughts? I mean, you've been to St. Paul now, and this is your first term in office there. As you come out and you run for a second term, what are your thoughts about the process and how things have gone over there?
Yeah, well, as you can imagine, this year is such a wild year to be at the legislature. Our first truly remote session. It was really great the way that we were all able to come together, at least in the House, and Speaker Hortman really put together a terrific series of safety protocols to keep all the members and all of our staff, as well as our constituents, safe, so that we weren't returning to the Capitol and then taking any germs back to our district. But it was bizarre, and so the committee process, of course, was kind of shelved, and we were on an as needed basis. So lots of the proposals that we were really hopeful to pass and bring into law were kind of put on hold for this year. And so I do have high hopes that next term we'll be able to kind of come back and reapproach some of the policy pieces, especially that we didn't get past this year. So.
One of the things that you and I talked about last time was, you are a person that you do strive for a more bipartisan approach. And, you get there. And I think one of the things I've talked to some other, the Democrats who wanted to try to be more bipartisan. And there is this element where you're vilified constantly. You're a metrocrat. You're evil. You're a bad person. This is what you hear all the time. And of course, then they pull every trick out of the book to try to stop legislation in the House. The Senate is always not really willing to go along with the House that much. You have this bickering. How is your thoughts about that? Because I know as you try to strive to get this, it's usually a two. There's needs two to tango on this. And reality is the Democratic Party, as much as they might want to try to work with the Republican Party, their mentality is, unless you do everything we want, we don't want to work with you. And I think it's always hard to kind of work around those parameters.
Sure, certainly. I think that is what the general public viewpoint of the legislature is, and given that we were one of the only split legislatures in the country, we did have a really unique experience, especially as a freshman representative. So last year, we were able to come together and ultimately end up with budget negotiation and compromise there that really put through a lot of important spending for the state of Minnesota and for the people of Minnesota. But I think that this year, just given, again, the remote circumstances, really made it difficult to kind of build up those relationships with my colleagues, both on the DFL side of the aisle and across the aisle. So, again, I'm hopeful after the campaign. Of course, obviously, everything gets heated up in a campaign year, that we can kind of set aside some of this divisive rhetoric and really come together to focus on bringing Minnesota back from the brink of this global pandemic.
Speaking of the pandemic, let's talk a little bit about COVID support. We're not getting a lot really from the federal government at this point. It's on the state government. I've been one who's been incredibly grateful that Governor Walz has been in charge during this, because it really is. I think it'd be far worse of a pandemic in Minnesota if not for Governor Walz's leadership. Talk about some of the things, though, that you want to do, because I know that, like every community, there's not a community that's not affected by this. Small businesses, they're getting hurt. The individuals are getting hurt. I mean, talk about some of the legislative ideas that you've had to deal with COVID-19.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, right away we set aside that $200 million to the COVID-19 Minnesota Fund to really help our state agencies respond and react to COVID. as things kind of changed throughout the state. We also were able to put through $30 million from the general fund for child care emergency grants, which is something that's really important. I think, let me just kind of give in my role as the vice chair of the early childhood subdivision. Child care and early care and learning are just always a high priority for me. In fact, one of my biggest projects in the interim was having a baby.
Yes.
So that's something that's really, truly near and dear to my heart, as well as many of my constituents who have young families. So childcare is really the backbone of our economy, and I think that if nothing else, COVID has really fleshed that out because parents aren't able to work, even if they were hopeful to be able to going into the office. Many places have switched over to remote work, and then you're trying to work remotely, teach your children at distance learning, and still kind of operate a household. So so many of our parents are in this really tough situation, and I think that our child care providers are just stepping up and really doing what needed to be done during this time.
And Representative, I got to say, congratulations. This is your fourth child, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, our first biological child, and we have 3 older adopted children.
You see, you're a better person than I, because we got to 3, and so we went from man to man to zone defense, and that's when I was like, okay, so I'm giving the sign of the cross, 4 kids. That's a lot of work there. So congratulations on that. I mean, it's what's been one of the things that's been refreshing is this feeling like St. Paul is finally the capital is starting to become a viable workplace, even in this pandemic time, though. It's becoming a viable workplace for women, especially women who are mothers, who are pregnant, who have just given birth. There seems to be a new mentality with the Democratic leadership in the House that I think it's a long overdue. So I'm very grateful for the changes that have been made over there.
I am as well, and I'm so grateful to Speaker Hortman for just her support throughout the interim, throughout this campaign season, and really focusing on all of our families, not just my family, but really caring and enough to keep us safe and implementing some of those standards at the House so that nobody gets sick.
One of the things that you have championed and you've talked about, and you obviously can talk about with authority, is the family leave, paid family leave. I mean, my niece just had a child. She just got done with they're out in Rhode Island. They've got a very nice paid family leave option that's out there, and the companies obviously help out. Yeah, it's really nice. It is something we need to address better here, because it is, I know there is a tremendous amount of need to have that family leave in place after the birth of a child. And I imagine you've got some good ideas on how to get something like this passed in this next session.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, and Chair Halverson did a fantastic job over this past term, really leading the way and working with so many stakeholders. She fought tooth and nail to find a compromise, and really brought small business owners to the table so that they are able to kind of compete with some of these larger businesses, these Fortune 500 companies that we have here in the state of Minnesota, who are already able to offer a paid family leave package to their employees. But some of our Main Street businesses in Minnesota, they really want to be able to do that to support their employees, and it just isn't possible. So kind of putting together this program where some of the bigger employers can opt out as long as they have a package that kind of is either equal or above and beyond what the state package would offer. They can really kind of tweak it to fit what they're able to offer. And I think that that's something that's really important.
Mm-hmm. I have spent a lot of time in your district in the last few months, because obviously with restrictions, there have been a lot of things open. So I've hit a lot of parks. I got to give you credit. In your district, I believe it's in your district, the Anderson Park Reserve down there it's right as you get down on the border of Eden Prairie, on the southwestern border. I believe that's in your district. That's spectacular. Oh, I was just down there.
Yes, the hill path that overlooks the river.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Actually, my husband and I just went for a hike over there last week.
We were there 2 weeks ago.
The leaves starting to turn. It's beautiful.
Oh gosh, you do. I mean, and one of the things I love about your district and Eden Prairie as a whole, I've seen almost all your parks. They're lovely. You guys got a lot of parks over there. Talk about getting out in the district. I mean, because campaigning, it's a very different experience this time around as opposed to 2018. Talk about how the campaign has been going for you in the age of coronavirus.
Yeah, certainly. It's tremendous changes have happened. And, my campaign and my colleagues, Representative Lori Pryor over on the A side, and then our state senator Steve Swadzinski have really decided not to go out and about door knocking. We have done some lit dropping, of course, wearing masks and keeping safe distance, not ringing the doorbell. But if people are around and they see us, or they're out doing some yard work, we'd like to have a conversation at a safe distance if people are willing and able to do so. But we've been making a lot of phone calls and really trying to reach people that way. Back in 2018, as you mentioned earlier, it was a bit of an upset, my race, and I won by only 241 votes. So we do anticipate to have a challenging race this time around as well. But I think that just kind of being out and about, we're putting out yard signs, and speaking of the parks, actually one of my kids' favorite things that we do when we drive around and put out yard signs is that they see all these playgrounds, the city park playgrounds that that we don't. That aren't in our neighborhood, and so then they like to try them out. And they say, "Oh, can we stop and play there?" And there's been at least 2 new ones that they've been able to explore a little bit this year, and they've really enjoyed that.
Oh, the envy of a child that sees a playground that's in a different neighborhood. It's like, oh, they've got that over there. Oh, yes, I can relate 100% to that. It's great that you're getting out in the community, and I know. It's a district that, we talked about this last time. It's a purplish district, but it definitely is like a lot of the districts in the metro area. It's becoming more blue. I'm feeling pretty good about your chances here. I feel you're going to get another term over there. That's for sure.
Well, I really appreciate that, Matt. And I think that, especially after, the death of George Floyd earlier on in the year, we put together a food drive for some of the neighborhoods in Minneapolis that were without grocery stores. And so we had just a huge turnout. We were really overwhelmed. We filled 2 buses, 2 Metro Transit buses, to bring food down to Minneapolis in those neighborhoods. And I think that was just really overwhelming show of support for Eden Prairie. People were reaching out to tell me, what can we do to help? How can we? I don't want to go down to Minneapolis, to kind of, they were worried about just the traffic and the all that sort of stuff. And so we were able to kind of put this together and then work with the Met Council to get buses to bring the food down. And I think that it was just people really, Minnesotans, and especially here in Eden Prairie that I see from my constituents, we really care about each other. And we just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to help people out when they're in need. Well,
and it's like every place. It's 48B is your district, but we're part of a larger community. And whether that's the Twin Cities Metro or the state of Minnesota, I want to see the best for this state because I love this state dearly. So, other districts, other areas need help, by all means. Nice job there doing that and it was tough getting around. I went down a few times. It was just tough. You didn't know what streets were going to be open at any given time. So, kudos to all the people in Eden Prairie that helped out there. 48B is the district. Carlie Kotyza-Witthun is the candidate. And once again, if you would like to help out, and by all means, this was a close race. We should anticipate another close race. Help your local DFLer, please do. But if you've got some extra time, a few extra dollars, donate, volunteer for Carlie's campaign. Carlie, what's the web address for you, Representative?
We're at CarlieForHouse.com. CarlieForHouse.com. Representative, I'll link to everything a little bit later on social media so everyone can find you, okay? Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Congratulations on the baby. All my best to you guys. And here's to another 2 years of you over in St. Paul. We sure do need you over there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Representative Carlie Kotyza-Witthun, District 48B, Democrat of the Day.